Can you tell us about the history of the community, the origins of the community in Ethiopia? I think a lot of people probably wouldn't be familiar with this. How far back does it go? What are the origins of the community there? I know there's some myths and legends, and there's probably some history, and where does it diverge? So what's the history of the community in Ethiopia?
So the story that all the people know about the Ethiopian Jews and how they arrived from Israel to Ethiopia, it's the story of King Solomon and Queen Sheba. King Solomon, as everyone know, was the wisest man on earth, and all the kings and the queens in his time wanted to come and have advice and learn from him. Queen Sheba was the queen of the area that we know today, Ethiopia, Eritrea, Yemen, Egypt. All this area used to called Kush, and she was the queen of that area. And she also heard about King Solomon. She came here, they fell in love, and they brought a son, Menelik I. Menelik came here to visit his dad, and after a few months, his father, King Solomon, told him that he have to go back to Ethiopia, to Kush. But King Solomon didn't send his son alone. He sent thousands of people back with him to Ethiopia. And some believe that the Ethiopian Jews came out from the thousands of people that went back with Menelik back to Ethiopia. But the version that we believe, the Ethiopian Jews, it's the version that speak about after the destruction of the first temple, when King Nebuchadnezzar came and conquered this area. We had the tribes of Israel here. One tribe decided to escape to the south, to Egypt. And I don't know how much you are familiar with the Nile River.
Yeah.
So we have the blue Nile River and we have the white Nile River. Right. The blue start in Ethiopia. The white start in Sudan. So this tribe walked through the blue Nile River until they ended up in Ethiopia. And so we believe to the second version, the version that speak about the tribe of Dan, because we belong to the tribe of Dan, and the tribe that walked through the blue Nile River until they ended up in Ethiopia.
I know there's a story of, not a story, I mean historical record also of Jewish military legions on the Isle of Elephantine in the Nile, and they just kind of disappeared.
South Egypt.
In South Egypt one time. So we know there's been a Jewish presence in Egypt, south of Egypt, in that kind of whole area, right, for thousands of years. So this community and the history of the community goes back a really long time.
Yeah, more than 2,500 years, long time.
When was, from the little bit I've read about the history of the community, they were kind of cut off, right? You guys were kind of cut off there for a long time from the rest of the Jewish world, as far as, things that happened later on, as far as the introduction of rabbinic Judaism or like the Mishnah and the Talmud. True. So what did Judaism version Ethiopia look like, at least throughout history?
So, as you said, we were isolated for many, many years. I think we were the only community, the Jewish community, that didn't have any relationship to any other Jewish community in the world. Wow. Therefore, we thought that we are the only Jews left in the world, and if we will not keep Judaism, Judaism will disappear. That's amazing. And in the history of the Ethiopian Jews, we kept Judaism sometimes with our life, because I don't know if you know, but in the 4th century, Christianity came to Ethiopia. And there was a lot of queens and kings that wanted to convert the Ethiopian Jewish community into Christianity, but my people really protect their Jewish identity sometimes with their life. And by the way, this is the reason why we don't have the oral Torah, because the oral Torah came few hundred years after the destruction of the first temple. Right. And we left in the destruction of the first temple, and we didn't have no relationship to any other Jewish community, and therefore no one told us that there is one more Torah, the oral Torah. So I guess that Ethiopian Jews, if you want to see how Jews kept Judaism in the first temple, you just need to watch the Ethiopian Jews, because we kept Judaism the way it looks like in the first temple.
Are the leaders or the kind of the traditional people of the community still maintaining those traditions?
Yeah, we have our spiritual leaders, the Kesim, and the songs and how we pray it's very familiar to what had been happened during the time of the first temple.
That's amazing. And we'd love to get some, if you have like videos, and we can put them on the website.
Sure. Video and music.
Yeah, video and music, and we can share them
Sure.
on the show notes of the website for people to go in and see.
So it's very interesting, like just from like a cultural perspective. So there's this community that's going on the trajectory of time over thousands of years. But modernity starts to happen in the world, and transportation networks are built, and people are coming and going from Africa to the Middle East over the history of African and Middle Eastern trade relationships, culture relationships, empire building. I'm not even going to colonialism. I'm even before then, before European colonialism. When does it start to become apparent to the Ethiopian Jewish community living in Ethiopia that there is a broader Jewish world that exists outside of their own communities?
Well, it started in the late 19th century. The first Ethiopian Jew that came here to Jerusalem, that happened in 1855. And then in the end of 19th century, a guy by the name of Joseph Halevi, guy from Paris, a Jewish guy, came to do some research about the Ethiopian Jews, and he came and he discovered that there is Jews in Ethiopia, and he was the one that take this information back to Europe, telling the Jewish communities there are Jews in Ethiopia.
So like basically this guy comes to Ethiopia and he's sitting down with Jews in Ethiopia, and this turns into a complete and total mind blow for both sides. Like he's sitting there like, whoa, there's Jews, and the Ethiopian Jews are like, whoa, there are Jews that aren't Ethiopian Jews. And
isn't there a story that you guys see this probably Ashkenazi Jew and you're like, oh, they're white Jews, right?
Yeah. So one of the things that when Ethiopian Jews used to live in two main cities or areas. One is Gondar, and the other one is Tigray. My family originally from Tigray. And when this guy came to
Tigray... That's in the north of the country?
That's near the border of Eritrea.
What kind of geographic terrain is it? Is it plains? Is it mountains? What are we talking about here?
More familiar to the south of Israel.
Okay.
So this guy is coming, and he's smoking a pipe. And the Jews from Ethiopia, from my area, asking him, how can you come a Jew when you're smoking and you hurt your body? It's like, you can't do that.
Smoking is not common, or
was not common in the late 19th century. It was not common, and to see him smoke and hurting his body was something that was very surprising for the Ethiopian Jews, because you have to protect your soul and body. And of course, to see a white man who claimed that he is Jew was a surprise.
That's awesome.
What historically did Jews in different kinds of places where they lived had to have certain professions, or tended to have certain professions, right? In some places, they were farmers. In other places, they were warriors. In other places, they dealt with money. Did the Jews of Ethiopia historically have professions that they were more involved in professions that they weren't? Yeah.
So first, of course, being farmers, agriculture, building weapons. Ethiopian Jews were very well known people that building guns and things like that, doing embroidery work. All those types of work was unique to the Ethiopian Jews.
Interesting.
So they knew how to make guns? And
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yeah, they were making guns.
Wow.
So somebody gave knowledge to the community. Was it because they were working with metal, or?
I don't know when it started and how it became their professionals, but yeah, most of the people, when they wanted to buy guns, knives, whatever, they were going to the Ethiopian Jewish community to buy them for.
That's interesting. I know I've read a few articles here and there that maybe the 1400s, 1500s, there were kind of waves of forced conversions, Christianity, Islam, whatever, that also swept through Ethiopia. I think I even read one time that there was, a king or a queen who converted to Judaism, and then a lot of people converted to Judaism. Have you heard this?
In Ethiopia?
Yeah.
Well, she was Jewish from the beginning. Her name was Judith. She belongs to the Gideonim family.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's true, but we need to check that. But the first time that Jewish community really control a country outside of Israel was in Ethiopia, because we controlled Ethiopia for about maybe 40 years.
Yeah, it wasn't long, right? But there was...
But I guess if we check in the history of Jews all over the world, I don't remember another Jewish community that controlled a country for 40 years.
Do you have any idea how big the community might have been at one time or another?
Well, I think that we're speaking about during that time when we were really strong and we controlled the continent or the country of Ethiopia. I believe that we're speaking about maybe 100,000, maybe 800, 900, but we were big.
But then over time, from my understanding, did the community come to be kind of maybe oppressed by the Christian rulers, or what were the relations like with?
So it's changed from a king to king.
Yeah.
By the way, many people know us after the name of Falasha.
Yeah.
So Falasha is a nickname that the non-Jews used to call us in Ethiopia. Falasha means a stranger, someone who is not in his land. And this is how the Christians and the Muslims called us. We called ourselves Beta Israel, the house of Israel, because we always wanted to remind ourselves that we belong to Am Israel. And Falasha means also someone who is not able to have a land, because there was a law that brought up by one of the kings that if you don't want to convert, then you will not be able to have a land. So, Falasha.
Sounds like a similar story to many of the Jewish diasporas. Yeah.
There's the parallels between the different narratives that go on in different Jewish communities around the world. They're very, very similar.
Was there a language, a traditional language spoken other than what was spoken around, Amharic or Tigray?
So our spiritual leaders, they don't speak that language, but there was an ancient language called Ge'ez, and she's not existing anymore. But our spiritual leaders, when they pray in that language.
What's it similar to? What's it connected to? Do you know?
It's from the Semite family of languages. Also, all the other languages in Ethiopia, for example, Tigrinya or Amharic, they are very familiar and close to the Hebrew and the Arabic.
Yeah, the Semitic languages, right?
Yeah, Semitic languages. And but for your questions, then the Ge'ez.
So nobody speaks it?
Nobody.
But are there still people who can read it and they pray in it?
So the spiritual leaders, the Kesim, they are the one that pray in that language.